All right, I am producing a second take for this video as well, so bear with me. State of the Union was on Tuesday, and I liked it. A lot of people were gushing over it. They said it was the best State of the Union they've ever seen. I think the only reason I think you could say that was because the reactions were pretty funny. The reactions of the crowd, whether it was the military members that seemed like really sour faced for a number of reasons, and then there was, all those women wearing white, which they did last year anyway. So, what are they trying to? I mean, can't you come out new year, new message, new ideas, maybe keep things fresh? And essentially, they also didn't stand up when Trump was discussing the issue of human trafficking and catching a lot of these abusers and things like that. They didn't stand up. So what was the point of wearing white, which they say is the color for women suffragettes? It doesn't make any sense. It's really pointless. People need to get a grip, and if they have any useful ideas, they know where to take them. They can propose them. They have the House, but today we're not going to talk necessarily about that. We're going to talk about what are some of the key events that could be up ahead that would swing a possible 2020 election closer or further away from Donald Trump. Okay. Now, this isn't comprehensive. It doesn't mention everything. In some cases, I'm just going to give an example and broaden it. So bear with me. First of all, so Bernie Sanders, okay? Bernie is going to be pressured to run in 2020, okay? Now, there's no date for when he's going to announce yet, but it seems like he will, just from the looks of it. It could be that I'm misreading the signals, but he just seems to be very vocal at the moment. So if Bernie Sanders runs, it's going to be kind of a strange election. You're going to see a lot of infighting because the real Democratic schism is just getting wider and wider every day. They're already putting out smears against Tulsi Gabbard. So imagine when Bernie Sanders joins, they're just going to go into over. They can't handle any sort of actual competitive contest, as well as an alternative vision within the party. See, the Democrats are fine with having milk toast loser candidates like not Joaquin Castro, but his brother Julian, because they just give the same message but packaged in a different skin, I guess you could call it. No other way to say it. Julian Castro and Cory Booker and Kirsten Gillibrand, they're giving out the same message, but with that's it. It's a different skin, different. That's the diversity of the Democratic Party. They get their marching orders from their lobbyists, and they present it using a different ethnic packaging. Okay, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. The Republican Party is a little different, but they also get their marching orders from their lobbyists. So I guess Trump is only. I mean, you have to admit he's not really pleasing a lot of these special interests. Obviously, there's a few that he is because the economy's doing well, things like that. It's doing as well as I would hope. So if you're not happy, then I'd like to know why. That's about it for the Bernie Sanders issue, which I don't have. Nobody has a date yet for when he's going to jump into the race. He would be the bigger competitor should he come into the general election as a Democrat nominee. Now, if he were to lose the Democratic nomination for whatever reason, remember you need more than half of the delegates in order to be able to win the nomination. So it could be that the Bernie Sanders gets the most number of delegates, but not enough for a majority. And then there will be a lot of pressure for him to leave the party again and mount a third party campaign, which would be kind of interesting, but ultimately it would probably help Trump. You're also, I mean, we've mentioned before the Howard Schultz possibility. Howard Schultz, if he's going to be running for president, is really a threat more to Democrats than he is to Donald Trump. He doesn't like Donald Trump, according to his statements, but he's probably going to be the best help to Donald Trump that there is. Same thing if Bernie goes third party in 2020, which, the Democrats consider that obviously a bad thing because they're like, well, we need to defeat Trump. I would say that the most pressing need right now in the country, in terms of the political system, is that the two-party system has to be broken up. So if Bernie and Howard Schultz can do it, more power to them. If somebody on the right wing can take more voters away from the Republican Party, create a credible alternative, like let's say a populist but more libertarian right wing party, it's a difficult thing to talk about. I think populism in many cases is actually the opposite of libertarianism. So it's we do need more parties. These two just don't represent real ideas. So that's about it for that. Now at the end of the month, the last 2 days of the month, Trump is going to be in Vietnam meeting Kim Jong Un. Apparently, if that meeting goes down well and they sign some sort of agreement or even possibly a peace treaty, that will very positively impact Trump's prospects to be reelected in 2020. And if he doesn't, if nothing happens and it doesn't advance, yeah, I'd have to consider it a failure. But there's no indication right now that that's going to happen. I don't think this is this is kind of where you step into the sandbox and pretend that you know what's going on. It seems very hard to believe that they would get as far as they have already meeting in Singapore and then pull away at this stage. I think that they're pretty serious about ratcheting down tensions and finally ending the Cold War with North Korea, which most people didn't expect, and understandably so. So other things, the Mueller investigation, a lot of reports coming out very recently that the Mueller investigation is going to end within the next month. That will either impact the president very positively or could send his administration into kind of survival mode. If there is even a whiff of statement within the report that there was some sort of collusion with Russia, the Democrats are just going to stretch and stretch and stretch and use any sort of leverage that they can in order to keep this story alive. If it comes up empty, they will try to hide from it as hard as they can, just like they've been hiding from this mini crisis with the blackface politicians in Virginia. They have a very hard time actually taking responsibility for any of their failures. And the Democrats aren't unique in that way. A lot of these Republicans also, that they still hold fast to the idea. Well, Iraq War, it was all about keeping the world safe from WMDs. Look, I mean, Iraq didn't have WMDs that were ever found. They might have, but in either case, they never used them against the U.S. yet. So, the same thing here. You have people who have been alleging stuff for such a long time, and now that there's hardly any meat on the bone, they're going to be hiding. They're going to be saying, well, Russia, it was worth it to investigate it, and now it's behind us, so back off. Yeah, Trump would definitely serve him in order to get reelected by mocking them over this. Another issue, Europe. Okay, so Angela Merkel is doing pretty bad at the moment, and we don't know if she's going to survive as Chancellor of Germany for the next 2 to 3 years. I think are the end of her last term in office. I think she's either fourth or fifth term in office. Fourth term. So yeah, Angela Merkel is going to. I think she is going to have like a real issue keeping Europe together. Now, of course, I could have featured Macron as well. So she's not the only leader. I just picked her because she's the most significant one. But the Macron situation right now with the yellow vest and everything, that situation is really tearing the cover back on what Europe really is, the European Union. It is basically a coercive union of states that just, they obey the directives of bureaucrats over in Brussels. So if she goes down in the next year and a half to sort of an internal party fissure or something, or if they have to call new elections, that would be a major earthquake. She's basically among the liberal elite. She's considered to be the leader of the free world. Yet in Germany, so many types of media are censored. The internet is censored. People get charged for all sorts of hate crimes because they said or implied something, completely benign. So yeah, that's about it for Europe. So yeah, there's going to be Brexit. Brexit is going to be likely happening next month, I believe, unless they postpone it, which they could. But if they don't postpone it, then that would be the fulfillment of the disintegration of Europe. It would be not the fulfillment, but I guess it would be on the road to it because it's going to be seen that they're hemorrhaging a lot of states. So really quick to wrap up, the last issue is the Canadian federal election. That I believe is in October. So if Trudeau loses a significant amount of seats and has to, so there's two situations. In Canada, you can found a minority government if you're in the majority. If you're not in the majority, but you have the highest number of seats in the parliament, meaning a plurality. You can form a government. But if his government is considerably weakened because of this election, then that definitely helps Trump because it indicates that even Canadians, the citizens of a country that all of these left-wing people, a lot of liberal people consider to be the best system, the system that we want to emulate, if it shows that people over there are not really satisfied at all with their governments, that would be an earthquake that would it would very much weaken the international resolve against Donald Trump. So I think that's going to be it for today. Please like the videos, share the video, subscribe to me on this channel, subscribe to me on my second YouTube channel, Razor Ray Special Cuts, as well as BitChute and Kogoscope, and all of the sites behind me right here.